Hey everybody, it's Adam Tracy, and after my last video, I got a lot of questions about whether or not I'm a money transmitter, right? And it's sort of like a very high level, and as I explained before, you have the state level definition of money transmitter, then you have the federal level definition, which tends to be more expansive, but as like a general postulate, right, you have four things: accepting funds from a customer, transferring funds on behalf of that customer, having control over those funds throughout the transfer process, and then finally giving instructions to a third party as to the delivery of those funds, right? And that isn't legally codified anywhere, but just sort of as a general concept, right? That's where you can start your analysis, right? And it became especially relevant last week because in the Tornado Cash case, the defendants who had ran Tornado Cash and were subsequently indicted had argued that the case should be dismissed because Tornado Cash was not, in fact, a money transmitter. And Tornado Cash was a crypto mixer, right? But it was decentralized, okay? And the defendants argued that because Tornado Cash was driven by smart contract and entirely decentralized, that the requisite intent to operate as a unlicensed money transmitter wasn't there, right? And the judge in that case ruled, without a written ruling, which I'll get to in a second, stated that Tornado Cash was in fact a money transmitter. And that's at the federal definition, right? Individual states could conceivably bring their own cases if they're inclined to. They won't, but they could. And so not only in the written decision apparently is forthcoming at some point, which may provide some insight into the logic behind the decision, right? And I think it's important for three reasons. One, it really makes you, as a crypto entrepreneur, promoter, whatever you want to call it, whether it be in a centralized or decentralized environment, think of those four postulates, right? Transfer, receipt, control, directions, right? Like that's important to start there before you do anything. And then hiding behind the decentralization myth, right? And you see this like in the context of DAOs, right? Where people will argue, well, we weren't selling securities, or we had no control over this because it's decentralized and it's this sort of headless horseman that kind of rides through the blockchain, and we can't have any say as to what it does. And that's true to a point in the sense that it's all smart contract driven, but somebody had to originate that idea, right? Somebody had to write the smart contract. And it's very hard, and there's scant evidence or cases anywhere that suggests that decentralization can somehow obviate the need to adhere to any law, whether it be money transfer related laws or securities laws, commodities laws, whatever the case may be, right? That it's just not there yet, and that doesn't mean it won't change. But I think in this case, it's instructive. The Tornado Cash case, it's instructive because it puts the framework right in the front of your mind, in the sense of start at this analysis and then do a deeper dive into the nuance of what you're actually trying to do, right? Because it won't only apply to crypto mixers, right? Which crypto mixers, by definition, the concept is to obfuscate the source of the crypto, right? Just that's the whole point. It's a privacy thing. And yes, of course, there's criminals were using them, and that is what it is. But when you're talking about the context of whether or not MSB registration is required, which triggers your AML law and your KYC obligations, and your failure to do so is in fact a problem, you got to start there, right? And it's just saying as a defense, well, yeah, we did the analysis. And yes, maybe we are a money transmitter by definition, but since we're decentralized, it shouldn't matter, isn't likely to work because you can't, it doesn't create it doesn't start out of nowhere, right? Like it has to start somewhere. And even if you don't do the coding, it doesn't matter. It's your idea, right? And like you're controlling it to some degree. It's not the Borg. It doesn't just like create something and just go on forever. It could, but it's not. And you're making money off of it. So why would you be making money if it's just this sort of listless shit, right? So I don't see that as a very viable defense in any context, right? At least right now, and it could change, okay? But as it relates to money transmitter and whether or not you are one, I think that analysis, albeit not codified anywhere, is the best place to start. Receipt of funds, transfer of funds, control of funds, and directions regarding the sending of funds. So that's the latest and greatest. If you have any questions, am I not an MSB, money transmitter, state level, federal level, whatever the case may be, definitely hit me up, adam@adamtracy.io. I'll talk to you next time. Cheers.